What's up, y'all? It's Daryl, aka Action, aka the Crazy Indian, aka the Hood Historian. You know, for the past probably about, I would say maybe like 12 years, I've been on this journey of, you know, just learning as much as I can about Black history. Around the time when I got married, I became a 5%er. You know, I wasn't really too happy with the whole Islam thing and stuff. I'm not really a religious person at all, you know, and I found it more science up a few years after that, and pretty much was a Moor for a long time. The information I got from the Moors was incredible. If you know anything about, you know, the Moorish teachings, they tell you that our people have always been here, but they give you kind of half truths, and I kind of seen that early. I love history. It's probably the only subject that I probably passed with A's growing up. One thing that does concern me is that a lot of times when you try to tell fellow quote-unquote Black people things, they don't want to hear it from another Black person. You know, whether you have a PhD or, you know, any kind of, you know, even proof sometimes. We always waiting for, you know, the white man, white daddy to tell us, you know, what's correct and what's not correct. I don't have any vested interest in hurting my own people, harming my own people. You know, I do the studying because a lot of us don't want to do it. All right. If you've seen a lot of my Facebook postings and stuff like that, you probably think I'm crazy. I keep saying that we're Indian, we're not Black, we're not African American, and I even put out proofs and pictures and stuff like that. One thing y'all people gotta understand is that, you know, a lot of history, you know, if there's a war, the loser doesn't get a chance to write or, you know, tell their story. It's always told by the victors. And you gotta understand that we lost the war, right? And one of the consequences of losing that war was not only that we was enslaved, but that our whole history was wiped out. We have been lied to. And going on Google and typing in and seeing the first search of anything you want to see is always going to be a fucking lie. You have to actually get off your ass, go to libraries, you know, go to state records and stuff to find the real truths. And even with YouTube and stuff like that, you can find a lot of this because a lot of people do the things. I found this book and I got it on PDF. It's from a long time ago. All right, and this book is about the Aboriginal races. Now, Aboriginal, if you don't know what Aborigine means, something that's not native, but something that's been on a certain land from when time began or from when history began, right? People that we call Native Americans, you know, they tend to have long hair, slanted eyes, and have Asian, you know, DNA. They are called their Aboriginal. Well, they're not called Aboriginals, but they're considered almost Aborigines to the North American continent. We have accepted that. And from my studies, that's just not true. We don't really know where they came from, but they have no skull bone records from ancient times here. There's monuments, mounds, and stuff like that that we don't know about because they're not going to tell us it. You would have to, you know, go there yourself, especially along the Mississippi Valley. And the bones that they find in these places are Negroids. And as I keep telling y'all, being Negro or Negroid, or even being considered Black, doesn't mean African. It doesn't at all. All right, so we gotta get off of that, this thinking that all Black people are African. Okay, so let me see if I can find this book real quick. All right, if you can see, it's called The Aboriginal Race of America. It's by a medical doctor named Samuel George Morton. This book was published April 27, 1842 or 3. It's kind of hard to see it. And it was published in Boston, and it's kept by the Boston Society of Natural History. Now, this book was written by a white dude in a very, very racist time. Matter of fact, slavery is you know, it's like around the Civil War and crap like that. Like, slavery is still, you know, happening and crap. So, you know, and most white people at this time, you know, didn't have a vested interest in lying about stuff. You know, if I ask most of y'all who your great grandfather or grandmother was, you wouldn't know. I don't know. You know, well, I have some kind of hints, but I don't know all the way, right? But one thing I can probably for sure tell you is that, you know, none of us are like Alex Haley with that Kunta Kinte bullshit story that they put out in the 70s of Roots. All right. When I was born, you know, my birth certificate says I'm black male. My kids are African American. It's because African American was termed and considered, you know, the de facto race that we are in the 1980s. All right, the late 1980s. That's that. You could thank Messy Jackson for that one. But we have never taken on the term or the name African ever before that. Even during the Black Power movement, it wasn't African power. It was Black power. And even what you know about Marcus Garvey is really a lie. Marcus Garvey knew who we were. He knew who we were. He knew who his people on Jamaica was. Or should I say Yamaka? You know, because Yamaka is the real name of it, you know, and it's, you know, think of the name Yamaka because it comes back to a couple other things, but I'm not going to get into that right now. But he knew who he was and stuff like that, and that's the reason why the Pan-African national movement now, or in the recent times and modern times, it has not been headed up by any of his family members, because he didn't start the Pan-African movement. You know, Marcus Garvey didn't try to take us, you know, back to Africa, you know, like a bullshit story that was told us. We weren't there. We didn't write the story, so we don't control the history, so we don't know. You know, I had to really dig deep and talk to a lot of people and look up books and look up his life story. He didn't want to do that. He wanted an economic powerhouse for us, and because they wasn't gonna, you know, the whites wasn't gonna, you know, fuck with us and our money. You know, the next best thing was to go to Africa and create an economical movement there. That you know, there was millions of very wealthy black people at the time. You know, look at what happened in Tulsa. Was it Oklahoma? Yeah, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street. That was 1913. It wasn't that long ago, right? It's like only 100 years ago, and they burnt down basically a whole neighborhood, killed thousands of wealthy black people. All right, and think about that. Oklahoma before then was called Indian Territory, and Indians were sent there, and they established that neighborhood during Indian Territory. But they're black, right? They're Indians, all right? And you know, you gotta face the facts that we are too. So let's take a look at this book, all right? Like I said, it's the aboriginal race of America, right? Because everybody wants proof on this crap, all right? We jump to this page right here, and it says physical characteristics. I'm gonna read it, all right? Physical characteristics. It is an adage, and it's hard to read this, so, you know, because it's like 200 years old almost. It is an adage among travelers that he who has seen one tribe of Indians has seen all. So much do the individuals of this race resemble each other, notwithstanding their immense geographical distribution and those differences of climate, which embrace the extremes of heat and cold. The half-clad Fueguin, I think it is, I can't really pronounce that, shrinking from his dreary winter, has the same characteristics and lineaments, though in an exaggerated degree, as the Indians of the tropical plains. And these again resemble the tribes which inhabit the region of the West Rocky Mountains. Those are this great valley of the Great Valley of the Mississippi, and those again which skirt the Eskimo, which is, you know, kind of spelled in a French kind of way, on the north. All possess alike the long, lank, black hair, the brown or cinnamon colored skin, the heavy brow, the dull and sleepy eye, which is kind of slanted eye, means oriental looking, the full compressed lips, can't really see that, and salient but dilated nose. These traits moreover or equally common to the savage and civilized nations, where they inhabit the margins of rivers and feed on fish, or rove the forest and subsist on the spoils of the chase. Right there, he just described the Eskimos. Now they have Oriental features. You know, they did come from Siberia. We do know that, and they share the same characteristics of the people that are right across the Bering Strait from them in Russia. Well, the Asian part of Russia. You know, where all of them look like they're Chinese and stuff like that. All right, that's another thing. Like, you know, we don't even know that. A lot of people don't even know that half of Russia is Oriental. You know, like, you know, they all look like Vladimir Putin. That's the European side of Russia. The country spans 2 continents. You know, a lot of them don't even consider themselves Europeans, even the ones like Putin. All right, that's why they have a lot of problems with the West. But anyway, those people did come across the Bering Straits and settled into Alaska, which has the same exact climate as where they came from, right across in Siberia. All right, so let's continue this, because it gets more interesting, because you're like, wait, he just described what we know Indians will look like, right? Okay, let's continue. All right, start from down here now. All right, let me just get ready to scroll this down, because PDF is annoying as fuck. It cannot be questioned that physical diversities do occur, equally singular and inexplicable, as seen in different shades of color, varying from a fair tint to a complexion almost black. And this too under circumstances in which climate, we're going to scroll down to the next page, in which climate has little or no influence. So also in reference to stature, the differences are remarkable in entire tribes, which moreover are geographically proximate to each other. These facts, however, are more exceptions to a general rule and do not alter the peculiar, this is a crazy ass word, physiognomy of the Indian, which is as, all right, hold on. Let me start over. These facts, however, are more exceptions to the general rule and do not alter the peculiar physiognomy, I don't know why I can't say that, of the Indian, which is as deviatingly characteristics as that of the Negro. For whether we seen him in the athletic Charib or the stunted Cheyenne, in the dark Californian or the fair Broa, he is Indian stew and cannot be mistaken for being any other race. Now, he said right here that they had the same characteristics of the Negro. Now, what Negro would he be talking about coming from Europe? The Moor. All right? In Europe, most black people from Africa, no matter, you know, you didn't have to be Muslim or from Morocco or whatever, you was considered a Moor. That was a name for blacks from Africa. So when you call yourself a Moor, you call yourself African, right? That was the name given to African. There's no such place as Africa anyway. There's only 2 continents. You know, there's only the Americas, and then there's Afro-Eurasia, because Africa, Asia, and Europe are connected to the same body of land. So they cannot be continents. All right? Which means that the Europeans, the African, and the Asian are all cousins of the same species. I mean, same people. All right? And they work together. And I'm gonna do more videos on that. All right? You see my skin color? You see my hair? I have dreads, long hair. These are not characteristics of Africans. All right? And I'm not light skinned, or I'm not even that light skinned, but I'm not red skinned, or don't have dark skin color because of racial mixing. All right, we're melanated. We have dominant genes. We're not recessive. We're not recessive at all. If that was the case, then, you know, I like to see what Obama's grandkids are gonna look like. You know, are they gonna come out light skinned or whatever? If she gets with a dark skinned woman, no. A dark skinned man, no. They're gonna continue to be, you know, fairly brown skin and dark, you know. But the reason why my skin color is the way it is because I'm not African, and it's not hard for me to understand that, because I understand that black people are native or aboriginal to every fucking continent on earth, not just Africa. You really think a bunch of Chinese dancing around with fucking feathers on their heads are the original people of America? They told this shit to our relatives, our ancestors that came out of slavery who couldn't read or write, and they believed it. And you can forgive them for that. But for you motherfuckers who went to college and shit and studied and learned, I guess you was just fucking partying all goddamn day and shit like that. Or you didn't care about learning about history. You wanted to learn about their history, but you didn't learn about yours. Or you believed everything they told you. You know, a lot of y'all don't even know what, according to the legal status of being black is, or what the word black means legally. Not just in the Webster's dictionary, but legally. And you come and talk, you know, shit about, you know, oh, you don't want to be black or nothing like that. And motherfucker, look, I have more, you know, black pride in my fucking pinky than a lot of y'all motherfuckers. All right? So when you say Black Lives Matter, it doesn't matter. It doesn't, because black means deplorable and evil, you know, and you know, like outrageous and stupid, you know, legally. So when you call yourself a black person, you call yourself a deplorable person. All right, black is not a race. Black is a status, and our status is not really black. Really, we should be the white people because we are the bearers of light. All right. Now, every tribe doesn't look the same. We did have tribes with long hair, straight hair, whatever. But one thing that's in common, though, is that only the blacks in Africa do not really grow long hair. You don't really see too many African men, and it's not a cultural thing, because you could look at in every culture in Africa, they don't grow dreadlocks or braids. You know, some women might braid hair, some girls, but even their hair doesn't grow that long. A lot of the Africans you see now with long hair is as a result of being influenced by Western culture. But a lot of them, you know, basically just had little small bush hair, you know. We, on the other hand, if I don't cut my hair and didn't have dreads, it would be a curly afro. You know, and a lot of you the same way too. I don't deny that we have African in us, but you motherfuckers never asked the question of how in the 1700s on wooden ships with no refrigeration, how they get 300 slaves on a ship and carry them here. It took like 2 months, maybe even more, depending. And the Atlantic Ocean is not the easiest navigable ocean. The Pacific is the calmest ocean. The Atlantic, you know, has all the hurricanes and stuff like that, and there's weather systems and patterns that doesn't allow you to cross just directly. You would have to go down to South Africa and come around to the Caribbean and up. Now, if I'm in the business of trying to create slave labor, and there's a bunch of wild, weak savages running around in the Americas, as they say, then why the fuck would I, you know, spend money on ships to go all the way to Africa and come back, you know, with no way to feed all those fucking people, no way to keep them sanitized and shit like that. So you gonna tell me I was chained, my ancestors was chained next to, you know, hundreds of other dudes or whatever, and we're pissing and we're shitting on each other, we getting fed slop and shit, we really don't have no space to move. You might be able to move 5 minutes, you know, out of fucking, you know, a day. Maybe even some days you don't even get a chance to move, you're just chained up, and then all of a sudden you land in South Carolina, right? After 2 months of doing this shit, and they put you on a block and grease you up or some shit, and you're all big, bad, and strong, and somebody wants to buy your ass as slave labor, right? Even if you did survive that journey, you would be fucking decrepit, and you'll probably have, what do you call that shit, scurvy and shit from not getting nutrition and smelling all that sea water, that salty sea water and shit, not having enough water to feed you. People are fucking stupid. You're fucking stupid. You took a lie and you're comfortable with it. I think a lot of y'all don't want to be Indian because it's comfortable to say, oh yeah, we came from Africa, and then, you know, look at the problems in Africa. Africa's so fucking far away. You can't get up and do anything about that. So we like fucking being victims of shit. But if somebody told you that you are in your own house, you on your own fucking land, that means you gotta get off your ass and do shit now. Not in the future. Now let's, you know, put on a bunch of dashikis and talk about, yo, kumbaya with Africa and shit like that. No. Another thing is, how many African supporters in anything that we fucking do when it comes to black rights here in this country? How many? It's a few. You know, but a lot of them were either born here, you know, so they get caught up in that culture here, or they are, you know, just kind-hearted people or whatever, but the majority of them don't. They don't talk to you. I don't barely see any African-American, so-called African-American men dating African females or vice versa, you know. African male might, you know, man is a man. African male will fuck a, you know, African-American female. She gives him the pussy, but he's not going to bring her home and marry her. And a lot of times it's our self-loathing. It's like, oh, look at us. We did this, that, third. African will tell you real quick you're not African. Real quick. Because they didn't lose the history of the world. We did. And we have this bad tendency as black people here in America, as thinking that we're so educated, you know, that, you know, you meet somebody from Australia or Papua New Guinea. Here's two countries, you know, in well, Australia is considered a continent, but it's really a part of Asia, and it's also considered Oceania. But there in the Pacific Islands, like Melanesia, melanin, you know, where they look just like us, with afros, with curly hair, with red skin tone, light brown, you know, deep brown cinnamon skin color. That is our ancestors. You can check on my Facebook shit. You can go look for yourself. Google up images of people from Melanesia, or people from the Solomon Islands, people from Papua New Guinea, especially Papua New Guinea. But if you would see these people, you would tell them they're black. They came from Africa. They tell you real quick they didn't come from Africa. They know who the fuck they are. And they're not my skin complexion because white people mix with them. These are jungle motherfuckers still in the jungle in huts. You know, a lot of Papua New Guinea, a lot of that's not even tame, bro. Like, you know, it's not even tame. So, you know, like, you know, people ask me for facts and shit like that. The book is called Aboriginal Races of America. You can go look this shit up online if you want to. It's kind of hard to find. Like, a lot of this shit's hard to find. And that's why a lot of y'all don't know this shit. Because, you know, who the fuck, you know, y'all too worried about what Rihanna's new song is or what's going on, you know, with certain shit. Another thing I'm gonna tell you right now, you know, maybe some of y'all know about what's going on with Dr. Umar Johnson and shit like that. You know, I fucked with him, you know, like back when I was on my pro-Africa shit and whatever. The man, he has a lot of good shit to say about, you know, what's going on with young black men, which I'm raising 3 of them, you know, and the shit that the medical, especially the psychiatry world, does to them. But, you know, like any person of that stature, you know, and I had the same problem with Henry Louis Gates, Skip Gates, Dr. Gates or whatever. Any one of those motherfuckers who, you know, are so, you know, become doctors and this and that, their PhDs and shit like that, and they haven't found out for themselves who, you know, where we come from is lying. Lying. Definitely lying. You cannot reach that kind of prominence and, you know, do that much work and history on ourselves and not come across where we came from. So they're agents. And you got to remember that a lot of black people do not have your best interests at heart. The way we was conquered by our enemies is from within. Because our own people sold each other out. And this happens time and time again in history. We're not the only people this happens to. All right? I'm pretty sure, you know, like you could historically you could find them. I'm pretty sure there's other groups of people who live in as people that they're not. All right? So I don't care if you're fucking Jamaican, you're Puerto Rican, you're from South Carolina, Texas, wherever the fuck you from, whatever. We're black. We're all basically from here. 90 to 95% of us. There was 6 million slaves here at the end of slavery. All right, and that number's probably larger because it was hard to keep records back then. But only 200 and something thousand were actually brought here as slaves from Africa. It's not economically feasible to go to Africa, to come from Europe, come here and go to Africa and bring people from Africa here. Nobody ever really asks, you know, that question and shit. All right, it's not economically feasible. It's retarded. It's stupid. We're not, you know, the people who just came out of slavery. You know, we have had 100 and something years to fucking learn this shit on our own. You know why Noble Drew Ali was fucking killed and murdered? Because he didn't go along with the program. The same person who started the Moorish Science Temple was Fard Muhammad. He has like 3 fucking names. He's Fard Muhammad, W. Fard Muhammad, Fard W. Muhammad. But Fard Muhammad, you know, he both mentored fucking the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Noble Drew Ali. Now, Elijah Muhammad, he played ball. He gave you a little bit of the information and not all. That's how you know, the 5%ers like that started getting into a lot of that esoteric knowledge or whatever, you know. But the Moors, because of the Noble Drew Ali, he didn't play ball. And he was taken out because he didn't play ball. Oh, another thing, Fard Muhammad also started a Rastafarian movement for my Rastas out there. All 3 of these movements was made to distract us because they knew that eventually that we was gonna wake up, and once we woke up, that it was gonna be problems. We're in the age of Aquarius, and in the age of Aquarius, you start to question and think and research. And a lot of us born in the 80s and the 70s and 80s and stuff like that, it's up to us because we're the last generation who's gonna do this shit. Because the 90s babies and shit, they think that they're, you know, the enemies of their friends, and you know, and they run around acting stupid and lost. We were the ones who were born to be adults at this time. We're the ones who need to understand what's going on. Now, we're gonna have to grow up and understand that this is who we are. All right, we're gonna have to take back our land. That's the fight that we can do, and it's not that hard. Stop calling yourself black. Stop putting down black and African American on paper, and start calling yourself aboriginal. Aboriginal, aborigine, indigenous. That's who we are. I love my African brothers and sisters. We are cousins, but we're not the same people, and we didn't descend from y'all. And they know that. But I'm talking to my African American, so-called African American, so-called Black American brothers and sisters out there. If you could debate me on these facts, go ahead. You know, all you're gonna do is just show me what you learned in your history book by people who don't want to teach you. Learn, you know, don't want you to learn who you are. All right. So I'm gonna show you one more thing before I cut off, because this is getting kind of long now. All right. Check this out real quick. This is American Aborigines. You see how dark skinned they are, how their hair is kind of nappy and shit. You could tell it's an old picture. And they didn't have much colors back then and stuff like that for these paintings, especially when this is what a lot of these people seen when they came over to America and crap. Those are the original pictures of the Indians meeting the Europeans. You see that on the other side? That's all nice shade in the color. That shit probably was made in the 80s or some shit. Look at that. Those are not what people, the natural people look like here. These motherfuckers right here, I'm still trying to figure out everything about them. But I'm starting to think that the Chinese had a fucking hand in colonizing us too. Because you see what they're doing in Jamaica and Africa now. And I think these two motherfuckers who are cousins, they work together and mixed in all of this other shit and try to make up some fake phony race of a brown skinned kind of Asian and try to say that they were the indigenous people here. You cannot be light skinned and be indigenous. These people don't even know who they are. They don't have no real names and no history. No matter if you meet an Indian from North Dakota who's, let's say, they Sioux or Dakota, or you meet I live in Arizona now, or you meet an Indian from Arizona, like, you know, the Navajo or the Utes, they all have the same accent. They talk the same fucking way, and they all got the same stupid names like Sitting Bird or Runs with Bulls, you know, runs with bullshit, really. And they're racist as fuck, especially when they got money. You know, because a lot of them, unfortunately, a lot of, you know, them are on the streets, especially here in Phoenix. But, you know, they, those ones, they hate white people and this, that, third. But not the casino motherfuckers. They love them, some white fucking people and shit. You know, because they all playing the game. They don't know who the fuck they are. And Phoenix is a place called Indian School. You know, there's an Indian School road or whatever. It was an Indian school where they took a lot of these kids, you know, supposedly to take them out the wild and to, you know, train them in, I guess, Western culture or European culture or American European culture, whatever the fuck it is. But I'm starting to think that a lot of that shit was just to brainwash and re-educate Asian immigrants that were brought here and snatched up to fucking pretend to be Native Americans, because they have no real fucking history. You know, it's like everything was taught to them and they just run with it. And it's the same shit that happened in India. You think in India, them Indians that you see there, light skin with the nice hair and shit like that, you think those are the real Indians? In India, when I say Indians now. No, they're not. And I'm gonna do a video on that shit, because, you know, this whole world is fucked up. And you better start, like, learning how fucked up our enemies are. Because we're not the only people they did this to. Same thing with the Chinese. The first dynasty of the Chinese was the Z dynasty, which is like XI, whatever, which means black ones, black people. The first Buddha statues, the first depictions of Buddha was a peppercorn, nappy-headed, fat black dude. Looked like big fucking, what's his name, Big Snake from Friday with fucking, you know, the Buddha hairstyle. That's what that motherfucker looked like. And, you know, to tell you the truth, in the ancient, like, Asian languages, the Buddha, means, you know, the noble black. So, you know, all these shit is there, but you don't know what Buddha means. You don't know what Z means in Chinese. You don't know this shit. You know, because you got to read a book. You got to do this, that, and third. You got to study and shit. And we too busy, you know, listening to music and doing all this other shit. So, you know, of course we ain't going to learn that shit. We're easily distracted people. You know, that's why they always say if you want to hide something from a black person, put it in a book, because it's fucking true. And when I always heard when you can hide something from a black person in a book, I open up a fucking book to see what you was hiding from me. That's the type of nigga that I am. You want to hide something from me, I'm going to go look for it and find it. You know, y'all want to accept everything that's told y'all? Fine. You know, I've been doing this shit for a while. A lot of niggas been pissing me off and shit like that. And a lot of motherfuckers that are my people that I love dearly and shit like that piss me off about this shit. Oh, you don't got no proof. Take a DNA test. Let me tell you right now about DNA test. You really think Ancestry.com is going to tell me that I'm here? Number one, there's no way to tell who's a Native American here. Do you know how they determine a Native American is? The fucking Chinese, Asian, Mongols that they fucking brought here and they placed here to be the Native Americans or the aboriginals or whatever. Their DNA is the same as a fucking Chinese person. So basically a Chinese person can get a nice tan and get a DNA test and bring that into the United States government and claim being fucking Native American. And what the fuck does it mean to be a Native American anyway? What does it mean to be Native or something? I was born in New York, right? I'm a Native New Yorker, like the fucking song. Native New York, that song right from the fucking 70s. You go to Texas, you know what I'm saying? Like they got these license plates. It's real proud to be a Texas native, right? You know, that doesn't mean like a Texas fucking Indian. You know, the rednecks run around with that shit. A native means anybody born in that land. You didn't immigrate there, you was born there. We are all fucking Native Americans. No matter if you're black, fucking Mexican American, Puerto Rican American, whether you Chinese American, if you was born in the fucking United States, you're a Native American. So they're not even called aboriginals. You know? And our real title is Indian. It's not derogatory term. You know, the Native Americans that they consider now, they say, oh, Indian it's not a derogatory term. You know, because Christopher Columbus wasn't looking for India. He came to where he was looking for. All black people who are not African, the Asiatic blacks, the blacks who were the original inhabitants of Asia were called Indians. All of Asia was once called India. You know what the country of India was called before the British took over India? It's called Hindustan. Hindustan. Look it up. Hindoostan. Hindustan. They were Hindus. That's who they are. The Hindus. Hindustan. They're not Indians. And they're not even the original people there. They call the original people there the Untouchables. And they're killing them off. And there's still tribal people running around in India, you know, who are, jet black with fucking PD, nappy ass hair and shit like that, who are being picked off and killed there. And the same shit's happening in the Pacific Islands too. You know, in what's that place? Indonesia. And the Papua part of Indonesia, it's called West Papua. You can look this up. West Papua is West PAPUA. West Papua genocide. You look that shit up on YouTube, and you see what the Mongols are doing to the natives on them islands. These people, and that shit right there is exactly what they was doing to our fucking people. They would kill the men, rape the women, make a mulatto race, and then go from there. Shit about to hit the fan soon, yo. I'm trying to tell y'all all this shit because all y'all crying about Donald Trump and shit like that, yo. If Hillary Clinton got elected president, shit like that, yo, we would have had the craziest fucking terrorist attack happen. I know all this shit, because I'm paying attention to shit that y'all not. That's what I'm telling y'all right now. Check out my shit is coming soon. Action News Network or whatever, because I have to do something to keep y'all informed what's going on, because do y'all even know what's going on in Chicago and Detroit with the UN troops coming there? They about to run amok, yo. What happened to Kanika Jenkins out there? She was killed in that hotel, the refrigerator, organ harvesting. The crime in Chicago is almost as low or lower than it is in New York City right now. But they keep telling you that it's so violent and shit like that. It's not that violent. Half of the black people from Phoenix is from Chicago, and they tell you that it's bad out there, but they running away because the cops is fucking out there just indiscriminately killing motherfuckers and using for organ harvesting. And that's the same thing that happened to Trayvon Martin. You know what I'm saying? Fucking Zimmerman was contracted to kill. He needed a young black kid and shit. So he made that fucking excuse to go shoot Trayvon or whatever. You know, he didn't expect it to be such a big fight. You know, because when we got to fight for our life, as Indians, we you know, they was never ever to beat us physically. You know, they had to get us by bribing traders. But Trayvon fought his ass off. When they went to go see his body or whatever, it was stuffed. They took all the organs out of it. That's what they do to us when we go to fucking these memorial homes, these you know, these funeral parlors and stuff like that. You know, the funeral directors, they make crazy money off our organs. Crazy money. And that's why all these kids are getting snatched up. You know? Like I said, shit about to hit the fan, man. You see what happened to Hillary Clinton's fucking crib? And then what happened a couple days later? Fucking Trump Tower, right? You know, you don't see the you don't connect the connections, right? You could tell me every rap lyric and shit from some stupid ass fucking mumble rapper that ain't fucking making no sense, but you don't even know what's going on in your own backyard. You don't know there's a war between deep state and between Trump. You think Trump is this big ass racist and shit like that. I don't support none of these motherfuckers. I don't give a fuck. I say let them all kill each other off. I'm sitting back eating popcorn laughing, but you know what I'm saying? But I'm not oblivious to what's going on and shit like that. You know, what has Hillary Clinton done to you? For you or for your people? What did Barack Obama do for us? Barack Obama did you know, like a whole bunch of shit for the gays, you know, and turning all our fucking our young men, you know, into faggots and shit like that, and they can't even fucking, you know, what war we gonna have and shit. Not that I have a problem with anything that you fucking do. You can do, love whoever you want and shit like that, but honestly, homosexuality is genocide, bro. Because, like, you know, how you gonna procreate? If we all became gay today, you know, who's gonna be the next fucking, you know, the generation? That's the only problem I have with homosexuality. Is genocide, because it's being forced on us. There's no coincidence. Young Thugs and I Love Manokin or whatever the fuck that kid's name is, and Frank Ocean's, they being prominent. Look at Puffy. You know, you heard suspect shit about Puffy for years, but really look at Puffy, bro. Like, come on. You don't see all this shit? You know what I'm saying? You don't see all this shit? And then you see what Nicki said about the, you know, how the whites taking over hip-hop and shit. You know why white people taking over hip-hop? Because y'all motherfuckers don't want to rap nothing no more. Lil Wayne don't care about being black. Said, I'm a young, rich nigga. Gang, I care about bitches and fucking getting high and shit like that. Nigga look like a dope fiend in his fucking interviews and shit like that. Sipping that stupid lean. Yo, when did black people start fucking sipping liquid heroin? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, what are y'all doing? Molly's and shit like that? Ecstasy was around when I was in high school. It's called X. Now it's fucking Molly. It's even stronger now. And yo, those white boy shit then. Now y'all popping them shits like it's nothing. We gotta fucking wake up, yo. I ain't perfect. I don't know. You know, but don't judge me for like fucking trying to tell you who the fuck you are. So I'm gonna leave y'all with this real quick. Just check it out. And, yo, check out Action News Network. There's going to be more shit like this. A little more professional and stuff. I'm trying to clean up shit. Trying to get a nice little space so I could do this shit. You know, maybe starting off weekly, yo, with news stories. Because y'all need to pay attention to what's going on. Because you're going to get caught slipping. You are. Because you don't pay attention. And you ain't going to listen to CNN, Fox News, and all this shit. So maybe if I throw together something, some hood shit, you know what I'm saying, and let y'all know what's going on, maybe you'll pay attention to me. Alright, but till next time, stay tuned and shit, because shit about to hit the fan. When that Pizzagate pedophilia shit come out, a lot of y'all busters gonna get hurt, because a lot of motherfuckers that y'all look up to and love, they gonna be dragged through the light and shit. And you're gonna start seeing a lot of people in different lights. People that you hate, you gonna start love. And people that you love, you gonna fucking hate. And it's gonna be embarrassing for everybody and shit. It really is. It's gonna be embarrassing for everybody, and it's gonna be a real big change and shit. And, you know, being Indian or African American or black or whatever, it's gonna be the least of your fucking problems. But what I'm saying now is black lives don't matter, because being black is a horrible definition to call yourself. Black doesn't mean anything good in legal definition. It doesn't even mean anything good in the regular dictionary. You call yourself a black person, you call yourself a despicable, horrible person. You call yourself a minority. A minority legally means someone with a childish mind who can't make up their own mind, who the state has to make up their minds or decisions for them. So stop calling yourself minorities, which we're not. We're not the minority. We're all fighting. If we're Indians, that means us, the Mexicans, all, you know, we're all fucking brothers and sisters, cousins, relatives. They just got Spanish mixed in them. We got English and other shit mixed in us, French, whatever, depending on where you fuck you from. Our bones is found here. Our bones is found here. Alright? Your ancestors are here. Your history is here. This is your land. Stop being pussies. We're the pussies ass fucking raised. People shoot our kids and we hands up, don't shoot and shit like that. Somebody shoots your kid, you gonna go hands up, no shoot? Nah, I'm coming after you. I'm coming after you hard body, you touching my kids. So why the fuck we letting people shoot our kids in the street? Why the fuck we letting the Asian man snuff our fucking girls and our wives, you know, and shit like that? Even though black women, you know, my Aboriginal sisters, my Indian sisters, need to get your ass together too. We all do, including myself. But we're lost. And think about it. If you pretend to be someone that you're not because somebody told you that, you don't know who you are, you're going to be lost. You're going to act lost. And that's what the fuck we doing. This is why we act so fucking crazy, because we don't know who we are. We don't have a hive mentality like they do. They stay on cold. They have a hive mentality. You know, their leader says one thing and they go run with it. You know, we want to be Pan-Africanist and then praise white Jesus and then praise Allah, you know, Shalom, you know, Yah. You know, we all this shit. I'm a Moor. I'm this, that, and the third. All this shit is distractions. If we all came together and said we fucking Indian and told them to give us our land back and our fucking money, you can't do shit. The UN knows this and they waiting for us to fucking do it. Alright? The only good thing Obama did was, and he was kind of forced to do this, was to sign the Aboriginal Rights Act, which means you don't have to know what tribe you're from. Just claim your indigenous status, which I'm in the process of doing, which y'all should do too. You can call yourself an urban Indian. That's a term for someone who doesn't know what tribe they come from. Alright? So, we need to start fucking learning shit. Reading books. Studying and preparing. Because they're going to try to wipe us out. And I'm telling you right now, Detroit and Chicago, they have UN fucking troops there. And they're going to massacre a lot of fucking people if shit doesn't, you know, if we don't get our shit together. There's no reason for them to be in these two towns right now. Alright? You know, they try to incite race wars with the police shootings on us. And when you call yourself black, or identify yourself as black, you have no rights that the state is obliged to follow or respect. So in that legal definition of black, if you have no rights, black means having no rights that are bound to be respected by the state, then how the fuck does Black Lives Matter? Show me where there's a black America. Show me where there's an African America at. Where's the country of Africa at? The Irish people call themselves Irish. Italians call themselves Italian Americans. But we're African Americans. They don't go around calling themselves European Americans. And Chinese call themselves Chinese Americans. Japanese call themselves they're not Asian Americans. That might be a subgroup, but that's not your nationality. When you black, you have no nationality. You have no nationality. You have no nation behind you to defend you, which means you have no rights, and you could be fucking killed, or we could do whatever the fuck we want to do to you. All right. Love y'all motherfuckers. So y'all need to get we all need to get together and stop this shit. All right.